Hey guys, before we get started, just wanted to let you know that this is a slightly different kind of guest today. She doesn't specifically have a chronic illness herself, but inadvertently she's created the most amazing mobility aid for people with chronic illness. Slight disclaimer before we start, please be aware that this episode does contain kind of a lot of swearing, and the opinions expressed in this episode are not those of the Disabled to Enabled podcast, which is intended to spark discussion about issues relating to chronic illness. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the episode and please leave your thoughts in the comments. Also, remember to subscribe.
My name is Jessie Ace. I'm part of a group of enabled warriors that you've probably never heard of. We're fighting back against our invisible illness and taking the dis out of disability. We don't give sympathy to our symptoms. They enable us to be the warrior that we are. If you ask doctors and nurses, they'd say what we're doing is impossible. But pushing the limits of our conditions is something that we have to break through every single day. If we push the limits, we are mentally strong and we can do anything. The question is, how far can we push those limits? This podcast will give you the answers. I'm Jessie Ace, and this is the Disabled to Enabled podcast.
Enabled Warriors on our show today is a Dutch designer, architect, humanitarian and inventor of the Alinker. She set out to design something for her mum after her mum passed by a group of elderly people on scooters and said, "Over my dead body will I use one of those." But what also came next was totally unexpected. So she also found it to become a vehicle for social change, challenging our assumptions about people with mobility challenges. After a highly successful crowdfunding campaign in 2014, the Alinker started to grow, getting featured on CBS at the 100 Health Summit and even in the hands of well-known celebrity with MS, Selma Blair. Enabled Warriors, please help me in welcoming the amazing founder of the Alinker, BE Alink, everybody. Woo! Hey!
Good morning.
Good morning. Huge
Thanks
welcome
for having
to
me,
the
Jessie.
Jessie. How you doing?
Well, I'm just awake, and that's not the best time of the day, but so bear with me. I'll have my my magic potion to
Be as
keep
well
me awake.
equipped with your magic potion today. That's so
Yes,
cool.
absolutely.
I love that. Well, let's get straight in by discussing what the Alinker actually is and, what it looks like, how it works for those people listening that have may never seen one before or experienced it before.
How is that possible? No, I'm joking. The Alinker is when my mom said that over my dead body, I realized that mobility devices are generally designed as a technical solution for a body with a problem.
Yes.
And not for how we want to live, regardless of mobility challenges. So I thought that's really silly. If stuff emphasizes the disability, it creates a bigger social divide between people with and without disabilities. I mean, the physical stuff that we deal with when we have disabilities is, logistical stuff, and it's hard enough. But if on top of that is a social stigma, and from all the interviews over the years that I had with people or conversations, that is very often felt as a much harder thing to deal with, the isolation, losing people because they're uncomfortable. Partners that goes like, "Sorry, I didn't sign up for this," is rather shocking. But the isolation and stuff is, I think, the harder part to deal with. So I set out to make something so cool that people would love to use it, first of all, and then second of all, that it was so cool that now you're the one with the cool bike, instead of like, "Oh, what happened to you?"
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, that pity that people give, it's just, ugh.
Yeah, the pity of complete, like, "Oh my God, that's uncomfortable. I'll go the other way. I don't know what to say."
Yeah.
That was that actually the knowledge around that, I think, stems back from when my father died when I was 8. So when my father died, people disappeared around us, and I realized as a young girl that people just disappear because they don't know how to talk about it. They are uncomfortable talking about death. And so what I realized as a young girl is that people disappear. They choose their own comfort over showing up for you. And that happens the same with disabilities. People are uncomfortable, so they choose their own whatever comfort over just being real with each other. Because I think it's crazy that we are so much judged on what we have, a skin color or a wonky way of walking or weird glasses or whatever, you know, that we forget to meet on who we are.
Yeah.
And so I designed the Alinker a little bit for how we want to be, how for who we are, just active people that want to stay active and engaged, regardless of mobility challenges. So it looks like it's an overarching frame with two 16-inch wheels at the front and one 8-inch wheel at the back, with a seating assembly on top and a completely engineered Ackermann steering in the front. So it's a bit like a race mobile. It looks very cool. Even though I made it myself, I still think, I mean, that's the first word, 99% of the case, the first words that you just, oh, cool.
That's
and,
awesome though, isn't it?
and yeah, and people are approached, like yesterday I was talking to somebody who's 30 years MS, has lost most of her mobility, then got back on the Alinker. Not easy, because it is not easy if you've lost a lot of mobility or muscle mass or tone. But she said, I'm at eye level, even though I can't move very much yet, but I'm at eye level and I'm the one on a cool bike. And people approach you differently.
Exactly.
Instantly. She said everything changes because you're like, oh, wow, what's that bike? Well, she said, I'll give you a clue. I can't walk. And they're like, oh, but they're already talking. So
Exactly.
the bridge in making a conversation accessible. Like we always talk about the world needs to be accessible for people with disabilities. I think it's the other way around on a social and emotional level.
Yeah.
People that do not live with disabilities are so scared of disabilities that the world needs to be made more accessible to them. You don't change them, so you need to change the world so that or change the perception, challenge their assumptions by changing your own perception.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's amazing, and it's really interesting what you were saying about starting a conversation because of this like super cool bike, rather than, you know, like, oh, you're in a wheelchair, oh, I don't know what to say now, oh my god, and then people kind of they don't even chat to that person, do they? They go to their whoever they're with and they say, oh, does so and so want a cup of tea or something? And you're like, you know, that person can still hear you, they can still speak to you, there's still a person there. It's just sometimes it gets so rude, really.
Well, I don't know exactly what that is, but yesterday that woman that I was talking to, who is 30 years of age, she said the same thing. She said the moment you get into a wheelchair, people think that you're stupid too.
Yeah, I don't know why
And
that is. That's just so strange.
that's their own comfort.
Yeah, and that's what I
I
love
don't
about
know.
the Alinker.
Yeah.
Because not just that as well, but you've also got this you've got mobility again, which is what you don't really have in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So it's just,
well, that's not true, actually. I mean, you can't move your legs in a wheelchair, but there's people that are super active in wheelchairs, go to the gym, have a completely ripped upper body, are active with their upper body.
yeah.
So it's not true that you can't be active in a wheelchair. I mean, people do races and stuff with it, but half the people that use the wheelchairs can still use their legs.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing designed between a walker or canes and a wheelchair to keep your legs active and be at full height, stand up and be at eye level. And that is just weird that there was nothing designed to do that.
No, that is really weird.
That's there now. Now it's there.
Oh, so who is the Alinker for exactly? What kind of people?
The Alinker is for everybody who identifies as an active person and wants to stay active regardless what. Most of the Alinker users do not identify with the disease that they have, because that's just something that they have. They identify as you and me, active people that want to have an active and engaged life. And they're looking for something that suits who they are. they're often very stubborn people in the best possible way.
The best
It's
ones
true.
always are, though, aren't they?
Yeah, they tend to be a little bit eccentric.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to be the people that are not the most fitting in mainstream, whatever mainstream is. But, mainstream is 20% of our society, white, heterosexual, male people. And so that whole thing needs to go upside down too. I think there's one minority that predominantly creates a bit of a problem for society, and the white guys that have too much power and abuse that to make money, to enrich themselves. And so I think we should change that whole wording and say there's 80%, the vast majority of diverse people who don't take that crap anymore.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so people that that are attracted to the Alinker identify a little bit as the misfits.
Oh, I like that. So they're the kind of
Yeah,
rebel.
yeah, yeah. Now I'm a total gender queerdo and have never fitted anywhere really, and which made me having to invent myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because I've invented myself and I'm totally comfortable with whatever I am, people say sometimes, like, how do you identify? And it's like, what do you need? I don't need to identify as anything. I'm just me.
Mm.
But clearly, we need to identify as something or somebody in this society. And then it gets really icky around that because there's attachments to however you want to identify.
Mm. Yeah.
And if you don't identify as anything, then there's not so many attachments.
Mm.
I wasn't conditioned so
So true.
much as a boy or conditioned so much as a girl because it didn't apply to me. I was different. I felt I was different. So I had to make up myself. I had to invent myself. And I think a lot of people that go through stuff in their life, when life hits you, there's an opportunity to know a little bit more about life. And a lot of people that have been hit by life-altering disabilities actually know a little bit more about life.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like I had no idea that this chronic illness word even existed before my diagnosis. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
it opened so many like doors to what was actually around me, and I'd never realized that before, and it's crazy how you just don't realize.
Mm-hmm.
But
But the
yeah.
cool thing of doing this is that you meet all those people that are actually the coolest people in
Oh,
society.
totally. Yeah.
So, so the community of the Alinker family, as it grows, is a collection of the most amazing people I've ever met. It's fantastic. So
That's
much fun.
just awesome. So I read on your website that people wanting these bikes need to crowdfund or pay in installments because insurance companies don't contribute to wellness products. How crazy is that insurance companies just don't want to help with that? It's insane.
It seems a bit backward, isn't it?
Today's episode is sponsored by Gusto, the food delivery box that helps people with chronic illness. And let me tell you why it's amazing. So I find food shopping so stressful. Being in a huge place packed with people, bright lights, heat, noise, brightly coloured products everywhere gives me a full sensory overload, and it just makes me absolutely exhausted. Luckily, I found something that really helps make things easier for me, and that's a food delivery box. So these boxes are amazing, and it means that our evening meals come delivered straight to my house at a time that suits me, and I can choose. It's awesome. It means then I only need to go to a smaller, non-stressful supermarket for like breakfast and lunchy sort of stuff. The food that's delivered in my meal boxes are mostly pre-prepared and portioned out already. Evening time for me is when my fatigue is at its fullest and my body is just completely exhausted. I do not want to be standing around a stove for like 2 hours. Luckily with these, I don't. I can choose whichever meals I want, and I love trying new things and new cuisines. I choose how many meals I want, I choose when it gets delivered, and if I'm not in, I'll just leave the box in a safe place or with my neighbour. I can also skip weeks whenever I want to, and I'm in full control at all times. It comes with an app that I can use on my phone, and I can just choose the meals that I want. I can choose to skip it, and I can choose when it's going to be delivered. So cool. The meals are also near enough 30 minutes or less, so it makes for not a lot of standing time, which is so great. And like I say, it's mostly portioned out anyway, so it just speeds it up. The recipes that I can just bang in a pot, throw in the oven, and not worry about are my absolute favourite, and they are always the crowd pleasers in my family. My family is happy because they have a wonderful meal in the evening, and I'm happy because I can get more things done with my leftover, excuse the pun, energy. I love making meals from fresh ingredients every day because it really helps lessen my MS symptoms. There are also vegetarian meals, dairy-free meals, even gluten-free options as well. My box of 4 meals for 2 people is just $34.99 a week. It actually saves me money getting these food boxes. It's amazing. So honestly, give one a try and see how you get on. You can use my discount link in the show notes and you can get 60% off your first box and 30% off your first month's boxes. So there's nothing to lose, just give them a try. If you decide you don't like them, then just cancel it. You can fall in love with healthy, easy cooking and look forward to mealtimes again. You can thank me later. Now let's get back to chatting with our guest.
It's also, if we were to be a medical device, we would have to be a certified medical device, and then it goes through certain channels of only certified distributors, etc., etc. Now we sell it for 2,000 US or 1977 US. If we were to sell this through those channels, you'd have to ask at least 2 or 2.5 or 3 times as much.
Wow.
For retail, and then insurance pays for it.
Yeah.
But that's nearly double backwards, because then it's all of a sudden okay. But everybody pays for that, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's not, like with the whole medical industry, that's not really sustainable. The medical industry can ask what they want, and then insurance is paying for it. But in fact, we're all paying for that. So with the Alinker, we're making a bit of a statement, like, we don't want to participate in this world because it's not right. And it's not for the benefit of people at the receiving end of medication or devices, assistive devices. And I literally had an insurance company tell me it is proven that people that have a dog live longer, but we're not providing dogs.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and that was the link to the Alinkers. Like, no, okay, it it's much better for people, but it promotes wellness. But we don't pay for wellness. But that whole sick care mindset, I don't call it the healthcare system, right? It's a sick care because it's responsive, reactive, and it only kicks in once we're sick. Plus, over time, I don't think it was designed that way, but I think over time it has morphed into a system that makes money over sick people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's just like, yes, we need a sick care system. And then we need to talk about how to do that. At the moment, it makes money over sick people, which I think is appalling. But if you call that the sick care system, you can also turn around and say, like, oh, so we don't have a healthcare system. So now we can, play and do something together. Let's do something together for us, by us, that is for our wellness.
Yeah.
But we're not restricted. I mean, I do the reverse design practice in my head always. Like, if we call the healthcare system a sick care system, call it for what it is. You don't focus on the problem anymore. Because apparently, like, if we say that we have a healthcare system that needs to be fixed because it's broken, it's not broken. It's super highly effective and sophisticated in making money over sick people. It's just not designed for us. So if we try to fix it, it doesn't want to be fixed. It's already very successful. So then we need to turn around and build something new. So that's what we're doing. We turned around and said, okay, well, sick care system is what it is. We don't want to be engaged too much there. Yes, we need it. And I don't think it's set up for the benefit of people necessarily at the moment. But I'm not in that world. I want to be in the world of wellness, of what we do and how much we move, what we put in our mouth, and how we are together. The
Mm.
biggest disease of this time is isolation.
Okay.
That's not something that the sick care system fixes. It's what it creates.
Mm.
So how do we live together so that isolation doesn't happen as much? Like, in nature, when you have, there's no waste in nature. It's regenerative, and waste is recycled and reused and regenerated.
Yeah.
So the moment in a system like our society, you have waste, as in isolated people, so that's a waste product of our society, then you can say, oh, okay, so we're going to fix isolated people with a ministry of isolation, of a ministry of what they have in the UK, ministry of loneliness, ministry of suicide, ministry of homelessness, and ministry of domestic violence. You focus on all the problems that you're trying to fix. But that is bullshit, because they're not problems. They're symptoms of the system that created isolated people and whatever. And that's successful, apparently, because otherwise, why would it do it? So as long as we continue to have that problem fixing mindset, we perpetuate a system that creates lonely people.
Yeah.
So we need to do something else. Like,
absolutely.
I think the absence of community, the absence of just showing up for each other, you don't need money for that, really. It's just showing up for each other.
Exactly.
In the 70s, when I was in high school, we sold the car. My mom sold the car, and she said, we're all going on bikes because air pollution and all that stuff, this is not sustainable.
Okay.
That was in the 70s. After that, everything went sideways. But we're trying to fix the problem. And because we were trying to fix the problem, or ignoring what the real problem is, the design problem of the system, that just wants to grow and just measures in money. That's the real problem. So, but again, that is very successful. Some men, like last year, there were 5 men that have the same wealth as half the world population.
Wow.
With everything that we do, everything that we buy in the supermarket, every medication that we take, everything that we do, every flight, car, whatever transport we take, we perpetuate those systems. The food system, the pharma system, the war system, infrastructure.
Gosh.
These are the systems that make money.
Yeah.
And they have a sheer benefit of keeping it as it is and focusing more on money. I mean, they're ending systems, obviously, because you can never just measure in money. But at the same time, as long as you try to fix that, you're perpetuating it. And that's exactly what we've done over the last century. Hence, we're now in a mass extinction situation. And the next drama is happening. Everybody needs to fix the problem of climate. There's not a problem.
No.
We participate in that system, perpetuated continuously. So we can't fix this. We can only change our own actions and be a little bit smarter. Like, turn those things around. Again, my reverse design philosophy. If you pay the farmers who burn the Amazon in order to raise their cows, if you pay them $1 more to plant trees, what do you think they're going to plant tomorrow? They're not going to raise cows anymore because they got a little bit more money to plant trees. Nobody will burn down the Amazon anymore.
True.
So if we measure in money, we need to measure in money honestly and see what's really important to us. And if the Amazon is really important to us, then maybe we should pay to plant trees there. And that will automatically, because it's livelihoods for people, right? But we're getting a little bit away from the Alinker.
Got a bit distracted there. we're going into B's pitch for the next presidency, I think.
Yeah, no.
I'd vote for you. Like 1,000,000%.
I don't think politics is the way. Not for me, anyway. No.
Oh, you don't want to be doing that every day.
No.
Okay,
no.
so the big question that I really wanted to ask you today: what did your mum think when you first showed it to her?
My mum loves it, and it's very stubborn. Very stubborn. Dutch woman. A lot about how people perceive the Alinker. My mother is also 82 now, and taught me a lot about elderly people who don't want to change their habits. It's over my dead body. That was her first comment. But once it gets down to it, she rather runs the risk of falling than actually using something at all.
Yeah.
And then with the Alinker, it's like, I like it, but you need to be with me because people look at me. And then I have to talk to people.
Okay.
And so the standing out part for elderly people, the stigma is the biggest for younger people with walkers or wheelchairs.
Yeah.
Or staying active in that matter.
Yeah.
Less than 15% of our population on the Alinkers is 65 plus.
Wow.
Most people think about elderly people when you see the Alinker. Less than 15% of that population that uses Alinkers is 65 plus.
Gosh.
So it's really not our biggest group. Maybe the next generation of baby boomers that have been raised in a slightly different time, slightly different perception about life, they might be different. And that's the people that are aging right now. They're in their, late 50s, 60s, just started to age beyond 65. That group is probably aging differently.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, it's amazing how something that started out as a product focused on the elderly kind of turned out that they didn't really want it anyway.
Well,
isn't it crazy?
I was never focused on the elderly. I just realized that medical devices are a technical solution for a body with a problem, and that causes stigma. I just wanted to make something better for my mum, but very quickly I realized that this is not. Like when Haruna at Prototype 4, a young woman, 27, she was at that time or something, exchange student from Japan, got on it, and she had never walked in her whole adult life. She's got muscular dystrophy. And she got on the Alinker and she said, I feel so tall. I feel so tall. I was like, oh, okay. Wow. So very quickly, with people trying the prototypes, I learned that, yes, some eccentric elderly people might get on it because they want to stand out, because like, shit, I just want to stay active.
Yeah.
Most people are not so comfortable. And then they say, can you change the color? It's like, it's not about the color. And the color is what it is. And that's just a manufacturing thing. If you add more SKUs, it becomes very quickly a much bigger logistical nightmare. So,
yeah.
So
Definitely.
as a startup company, no, keep it simple. There's one color. Yeah, yellow it is. And then it looks like a bee.
I love it. I think it's the most iconic thing out there. It's just amazing. And I love the way that you've literally took some like grey kind of medical devices type things and then just kind of gone, wow, none of that. Like, this is what you want. It's just amazing. I love it.
Well, the thing is, if you, I can go to a bike shop and get the coolest bike as long as I pay, right? $10,000 for a big Cannondale, not a problem. But the moment I have a disability, there's nothing cool that I can choose from, regardless if you have money or not. I mean, the top sporters, yeah, they've got cool equipment, but that's very often equipment that you don't take in daily life.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So why don't we have cool shit available for people that want to have cool gear?
Totally. That should have so been your tagline.
Yeah.
Cool shit.
Yeah.
Love it.
Cool shit. It's true, though, isn't it?
It's yeah,
completely true. Yeah.
Definitely true. Yeah. So can you describe the journey that really got you to this point? Because this has been quite a big kind of journey, I guess, for you. Started all the way back in 2014.
2011, actually, when my mom made that comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just entered the 8th year of this company and the 4th year in the market. We started with a trial, sort of trial launch in the Netherlands. I wanted to know, in a slightly small market, what I needed to learn. Who's going to buy this thing?
Yeah.
Do people buy this thing? I had no No idea. I'd never done this before. And I just made something that people responded to in a way that I thought, oh, there's something more there than just a better walker for my mom.
Yeah.
An 82-year-old guy started running, and he said, "Oh my God, I haven't run in 20 years." I was like,
Oh.
wow. And then Haruna, who got up, and I learned so much along the way.
Mm.
Because I didn't know all this stuff, like seriously not. Yeah, it's been a learning experience of 7 years engaging with people. That's always, and that's still the thing that I do. Like 80% of my time, if not more, I talk to people.
Mm.
Alinker users, potential partners, people that are interested, people that do podcasts. But I talk to people because that's where I learn. That's where I learned what the Alinker needed to be
Mm-hmm.
and what the language around that needed to be so that people find themselves. Because the language out there is really not very friendly for people that feel that they don't fit anymore
Mm.
or never fitted. It's not a friendly environment,
No.
and so it's very it's a straight way into sitting at home, not so engaged anymore, and thinking what the fuck happened here. And then the whole medical system also drives you into poverty. You
Yeah.
lose your job, you lose many friends, you lose your husband or wife or whatever. Mostly the husband, actually, I have to say from experience. They disappear. The wives don't disappear generally. The
Yeah.
husband anyway. um and then you sit at home. Now what?
Exactly. Now what?
Now what? Yeah, I have no resources anymore because you live off $700 a month. You have high medical bills, and it's like, fuck, you know. And then when they find the Alinker online, it's like, oh my God, there's possibility. There's people that are real with each other.
Exactly.
Um,
There's a community that
and
also get it as well,
yeah.
so.
And in fact, I'm not doing anything for anybody. I'm just building a world that I like to live in because I don't like the world around us. I don't like this world. I've been building this whole thing. It's been a journey of isolation of myself. A few years in a very dark room with antidepressants and not wanting to wake up the next morning.
Mm.
And the only thing that, like the Alinker, a startup is not simple. Let's put it that way.
Oh no.
Making something engineered as a woman in a startup world, a real product that is not simple. So investors are really not interested because they want,
Really?
they're generally,
Mm.
I've been very lucky with a few, but generally investors talk about 10 times return in 5 years or something. The Alinker takes a longer breath because it's a real thing and it's never focused on selling the bike.
Mm.
I've never been focused on selling the bike. I'm focused on building a new paradigm for healthcare that actually supports wellness. How do we build a community of people that shows up for each other,
Yeah.
whereby a lot of those things don't matter anymore, whereby isolation is not an issue because the way we deal with each other, isolation is not a by result,
Mm.
a byproduct. And so I've always been focused on building a world that I like to live in with a bunch of weirdos, people that get me, that
Yeah.
understand that I'm a weirdo. And they were like, finally, other weirdos, and we can just be ourselves. Thank you. So the biggest compliment I got last week from Joe. Joe is the very first Alinker user in the US. He's lived with 20 years with MS before he found the Alinker. And he's now 67 or something, I don't know. And he's this dude, super nice guy, but a bit different. He's always been different. Not that he had MS made him different. He was always a bit different.
Yeah.
But then he got, he was sitting at home for years, Googling something to make him feel better. And then he found the Alinker. But so he said last week to me, he sent me an email. He said, "B, what you've done is to make different okay again.
Yeah.
And that's the essence. Like what I just said, like 20% of us is mainstream white heteronormative dudes. And the rest apparently is a minority. What?
It
No,
makes no sense. Yeah.
we're 80%. It's the vast majority of 80% of people that are diverse.
Mm.
And if we change our wording to we are a diverse group, the vast majority of our society is the majority of diverse people, we get a completely different society.
Exactly.
And then we got people that show up for each other. We don't measure in skin color or in gender weirdo-ness, if that's a word,
Weirdness,
or
definitely a word.
or in disability or something. Like, why do we judge people on their exterior?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that's not who we are. I
No.
mean, we represent a lot with how we look. Like, for example, my white skin color represents a lot, and it's good to be aware of that.
Mm.
And then address that, acknowledge that, what we represent. If we meet people that have a different skin color than us, what do I represent to them?
Yeah.
That's a different thing. That's different than what I am as a physical body and whether that makes me who I am.
Totally, yeah. And it's
So,
about being mindful of other people as well and how you're actually treating other people, I think, because a lot of people don't really realize. That's the thing.
it's literally, if you, I mean, it sounds so simple, but it is, I think, that simple. Treat people like how you like to be treated.
Exactly, yeah.
Put yourself in the shoes of somebody else. My grandma said, every day do a little exercise. Put yourself in the shoes of somebody else
Mm.
that is slightly uncomfortable to you, and
Yeah,
then feel what that feels like. What she taught me
exactly.
is empathy, obviously, but it's a little trick. Just choose shoes of somebody that makes you feel uncomfortable and try those shoes for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's what it looks like. Like a homeless person. It's very uncomfortable. So what happens if I try his or her shoes? Okay,
Mm.
then I'll never walk past that homeless person the same way, really,
No.
because I don't want to be walked past as a homeless person. So I'm going to do that differently from that one. But
Yeah.
it's the willingness to be vulnerable, the willingness to see others for who they are.
Yeah. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that, are they?
Well, until it's them.
Exactly, yeah. And then it's,
And
well,
then what? So why don't we show up for each other right now? And
yeah.
then it becomes a little bit less unsafe
Mm.
in the whole world. Because if there's a social network of people that just show up for each other, if shit hits the fan, if something happens, then it becomes a bit of a safer place. That would be nice,
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Because you never
right?
know someone's full story. You never know what someone else is really going through, do you? So,
And it's all going to hit us until we drop that immediately. We're
mm.
all going to have disabilities. I mean, look at my glasses. I'm practically blind looking at the computer without glasses. So sorry for the reflections, but
Okay.
um, it's true. That's the first
Yeah.
disability. Everybody gets that, so it's quite accepted. But we're so scared of of not being invincible anymore.
Mm.
And if we just let go of our fucking egos and just show up with what we have, who we chose to be,
Yeah.
that's really, and that's something that we don't learn. Like, who do you choose to be? I choose to be a kind person. And then my actions are going to be, regardless of what comes to me, are going to be,
Fine
what
action.
is the kindest thing that I can do right now in response
Exactly.
to this
Yeah.
person? And then I'm congruent with myself because I chose to be a kind person.
Mm.
And even if I give somebody really like harsh feedback back, it can be the kindest thing that I do to that person. Because if you're not honest to each other,
Mm.
that's actually really not nice. That's
No.
really not kind. It's denying the other good feedback. So kindness is not like, oh, we need to be all wishy-washy kind with each other. No, real kindness is really a deep, deep practice of like, what is really the kindest thing that I can right now do to you?
Yeah,
And if you do that and you're congruent with yourself, it
exactly.
becomes really,
It's being honest, isn't it? It's just being totally honest with people.
being totally honest with yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because we like to talk about changing the world, but nobody does
No, and it
until
starts with you.
yeah, and it's uncomfortable.
Mm.
I'm writing an article at the moment, which is called Beware of Awareness because it has consequences.
I love that.
Very simple. It's not about wanting to change the world. It's not wanting to do everything. We always talk about the stuff outside ourselves, but it's inside us.
Mm.
I need to change my perspective. I need to change my inner practices. If I'm not a congruent person who's kind in everything that I do and showing up, what's the arrogance of changing the world? What is my arrogance of changing the world? Seriously.
Mm.
We want to change the world. Why? The world is fine. We fuck it up by not living in practices that help build a positive system.
Yeah.
So if we live positive, or not necessarily positive, but just real and kind, we will change the world ultimately, but not as a goal. Like the system perpetuates because we continue to buy sugar, we continue to buy processed food, and we continue to make ourselves sick.
Mm.
People become really rich of our practices of buying that stuff and putting that in our mouth. If I'm willing to say no sugar, no processed food, no carbs, I'm going to eat healthy greens. I'm going to be plant-based because first of all, it's healthy for me. Second of all, it doesn't feed the system anymore that screws the planet. So my personal choices do actually affect the system. And if we're willing to collectively do that, collectively be aware of what the system wants, we can change the system, but not by changing the system, but by changing us and how we shop.
Yeah.
That changes the system, but it's changing our own paradigms and it's changing our inner practices.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's become so normalized, hasn't it, to kind of buy all this processed stuff because it's there and it's available. So in our, in the general public minds, it's like, well, this is okay because it's on the shelves, it's being sold. But actually, you kind of need to think into that a little bit further and like you said, look into yourself and yeah, be more mindful about what's actually going on behind all the scenes, as it were.
That food makes us sick.
It does, yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
try to medicate it. Instead of like MS, for example, is in some countries called an environmental disease.
Mm.
A lot of the food choices, and not just MS, but many of those neurological and anti-immune diseases, if we change our food practices, not complicated, it's not a diet, it's not a low fat, it's not, no, just eat stuff that your body understands.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. It's got no
the
chemicals in
amount,
it, nothing synthetic in there. It does make
yeah,
total sense. And I found that I actually struggled the last time I went to America because I couldn't find anywhere that was healthy, and everything that was healthy was like 10 times the price. And I was like, what the heck is this? This is crazy. How can people live this way?
that's a food industry lobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just,
And it's hard. I mean, we're building a farm at the moment in Kentucky. Sounds a bit weird. Aren't you selling bikes? No, we're building a farm because
love it.
um, because it's necessary. I learned a lot about food deserts in the US, and you think food desert, but Brandon, for example, he's an Alinker user. He's employed by us now because we employ Alinker users. By 2020, only Alinker users will be on the payroll, just to make a
That's
statement.
amazing. I love that.
Just because we can,
Yeah.
and that really needs attention. So there's so far 4 people that are not on disability anymore, that are employed and that do take less medication and no antidepressants and all that stuff, and do pay their rent and all the rest of it. The difference to society is between $50,000 and $250,000 per person per year
Yeah.
that society has less burden of those people just because we employ them.
Mm.
But we're building this farm because when I got to know Brandon, he lives on this old piece. It's not an actual farm. It's just a piece of land right now. And then I learned you can tell people like, oh, you need to eat healthy and whatever. But he needs to drive half an hour. Drive if you have a car.
Mm-hmm.
You need to drive to a grocery shop. To the nearest grocery shop is half an hour drive. And in that grocery shop is no fresh produce anywhere from the local area. All the farmers produce corn and soy for the meat industry,
Gosh.
monocrop for the meat industry, and tobacco. Well, tobacco is an ending thing, so that the tobacco farmers don't do very well. So what we're going to do is talk to the local farmers and like, hey, can we convert a part of your land from tobacco to kale, for example, or to broccoli? And then with the local farmers, create a food hub, local food hub with a kitchen and a grocery shop, and where people have access to local fresh produce that is a little bit healthier than the crap that, like, literally people that are friends from Brandon there, they have been raised on nothing else but food from the freezer.
Oh,
Never had anything else but food from the freezer.
no. That's awful, isn't it? That's really sad, really, if you think about it.
It is really
It's
sad.
so,
It's
oh,
sickening.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that 1/3 of the people in the United States are pre-diabetic? 1/3.
Third. Gosh.
90 million people are pre-diabetic. Now, half those people can revert back to not being pre-diabetic by sufficient activity, 20 minutes a day. Sufficient activity, not even talking about food. 45 million people can go back to not being pre-diabetic by sufficient activity.
Gosh.
The people that turn diabetic cost, again, in a money, like how do you measure people in money, but do things, people do, things do have consequences. A person who turns full-blown type 2 diabetes costs on average $8,000 per year per person. 45 million times $8,000 per year that you do not need to, like how that's a few $billion. We can save that by sufficient activity. Let's see how much money we can save by just changing our food a little bit from the processed sugar shit to the not inflammatory foods of vegetables and green stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a diet. It really isn't. It's just going back to what makes sense and what our body understands as food. We're eating non-food, chemicals, sugar, processed shit that makes us sick.
Could not agree more. Yeah.
So there's a lot of those diseases, immunity, the anti-immune diseases, MS, neurological diseases that directly link to what we eat, not to diets, because diets is another industry that just makes money.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
It's
My grandma always said 1 and 1 is 2. Anything that is more complicated than 1 and 1 is 2, somebody's making money.
yeah. I never
It's
thought
true.
about it that way before. That's very, very true.
Yeah,
Gosh.
yeah. It's
Wow.
very simple. Life isn't that complicated.
No.
It's you and me just showing up for each other. And it's just eating what your body recognizes. Just being congruent with yourself and trying to be kind. Like, what else is there to it? It's not that complicated. We make it so overcomplicated and all those systems, but we are conditioned by systems that benefit from our conditioning.
Yeah.
So the conditioning is something you need to become aware of. And then be aware, conditioning and awareness about your conditioning has consequences. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
No, and
It
that's
has
the thing,
consequences.
isn't it? Yeah.
But the thing is, you're not losing anything. People always think like, oh, but I have the right to have this and to that. People always think that they lose something. But you actually gain so much, but you don't know what yet because we're not conditioned that way.
Mm.
And that's the risk taking. Just jump a little bit. Jump, take some risk. It's
See what
fun.
happens. Take the
Yeah.
risk, see what happens.
Hmm. Hmm.
Gosh. Okay, let's get back to the Alinker for a little while because there's a lot of questions I haven't even got through yet. Tremendously, you're successful putting this bike together. It's amazing. How did you get so many like celebrity contacts and celebrity using it, and how many like press attention that you've got? It's just phenomenal. How did all that happen? And what's your secret?
Be real.
Be real. Love it.
Seriously, I've never, like, when Selma Blair posted, I had no idea who Selma Blair was. Seriously, I had no idea. I'd never seen one of her movies because I don't have time, and so I'm getting to meet Selma as person to person because I'm not impressed with people because of what they do. I'm impressed with people because they're a stunning person. Like Selma is a stunning person. She's real, she's kind, she's extraordinary. That I respect deeply.
Yeah.
Not because she's a celebrity, I couldn't care less. I mean, it helps because her exposure has helped a lot, exposure for the Alinker. But that is because it's real. You try to sell something, not helping.
No.
And I've never been focusing on selling bikes. So the only advertising that we've ever paid for is Facebook ads and Instagram ads. So people can actually like, oh, there's that yellow thing again in post or whatever. And then they don't know where the website is.
Yeah.
So the ads are just like, oh, there it is. And then they get to the website. So it's a recognizing thing. It's not a trying to sell. So the ads is the only thing that we're paying for. And that's been very minimum. And for the rest, I've never paid for anything because I don't want to sell.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you've got such a strong why like you have, then you don't really need to pay anything because it will grow organically so fast anyway.
Yeah, and it's just doing business differently.
Mm.
Like if we sell a few bikes a month, then you should never tell that to shareholders because to shareholders you're always like, oh, you can grow this much and grow this much. And I'm like, no, I'm more interested in having the right partners and not in a number of bikes that we're selling. I can't care less. I mean, we're very quickly we've become sustainable and investors actually like come to us. So can we invest in your business? If you're the right partner, yes, you can. If you're not the right partner, no, you can't. And if you want to convert us to a medical device and go that route, you're definitely not the right partner. We don't want your money. It's not about money. It's never about money. It's about doing the real shit together and the shit that really matters.
Yeah.
And I'm being real. I can't help myself anyway. I'm going into this big photo shoot in a little while, and then the photographer wants to set me up with a costume. And I was like, don't bother. I always have the same clothing on, and I won't change that. If you want a photo shoot of me, you'll get me.
Yeah, I love
I
that. Finally, it's amazing to talk to somebody that's just real and so authentically them. So
The rest is more work. Like I have a few pens that are all the same. I have a few t-shirts or shirts that are all the same because that saves me time. I never have to think about it.
yeah,
It's not because I try to look this way or look that way. It's just because I'm fucking lazy and I don't want to think about what I wear this day. I
yeah,
just need to sniff if it's clean and then
yeah.
and then I'm good to go.
No, I am exactly the same. I literally have the same set of black t-shirts and I have the same pair of jeans, just
Yeah,
like different colors. And like, there you go.
yeah,
Sorted.
yeah,
So yeah, so I'm with you on that one. I'm with
yeah.
you.
It saves time, seriously. Yeah,
Mm, it's
yeah.
amazing. So what I love as well about the A-linker is it puts people with mobility issues at eye level as well for other people. So like when you're in a wheelchair, you are quite low to the ground. People have to bend down and talk to you and stuff. And I know we've kind of discussed this a little bit, but I love the fact that the A-linker is just a bridge almost between the traditional kind of mobility devices on those who are perfectly able and healthy.
Mhm.
So did you realize that it would have that kind of effect when you first started making it? Or did that kind of come about naturally afterwards?
No, it came. Um, how I came to that overarching frame with the 3 wheels is that after that comment of my mom, and realized like I want to make something really cool and not just as a technical solution for a body with a problem.
Yeah.
I started looking at people using walkers, canes, all that stuff. And what I saw with walkers, that people are hunched over all the time.
Mm.
And that led me to, they can still walk, clearly, but they try to lean off their weight. They want to, because my body is too heavy on my legs, I want to lean off my weight. So they're all hunched over. So I was like, oh, so we need to get rid of the weight. Where do you do that? On, I'm Dutch. So the sit bones on a bicycle seat, that takes care of the weight. But then let's continue to walk, because the walking is essential for activating your brain. That is the thing that we do as humans. We walk, and there's a whole feedback loop. And I'm learning about that right now by the results that I'm seeing. You sit on your sit bones. You exert pressure on your sit bones as you walk. And the way you sit on the Alinker, you sit on the back edge of the seat. The nose is pointed up a bit. Sounds counterintuitive, but people really need to do that. Nose up a bit. You sit on the back of the seat, so your pelvis is tilted back.
Okay.
Your lower back is relaxed, whereby your whole spine opens up. And that everything that you do is a direct message to your brain. Now, in our medical system, the brain is completely disregarded. All the research for medication for Parkinson's, for example, is focused on dopamine and the dopamine receptors. Nothing is focused on the brain circuitry. But if you activate the brain, fire up the brain circuitry, so to say, a lot of the symptoms of Parkinson's, freeze of gait, for example, disappears. The speech problems that people sometimes have with Parkinson's, the slurry speak, or with MS, the spastic dystonia, I believe that's called, disappears when you're on an Alinker after a while. Like I saw with Selma, the first time I met her, she came walking with a cane, and her speech was quite compromised. Big pauses and couldn't get the words out. And then she hops on the Alinker, zips around the block for two rounds, and her speech is cleared up. It's like what happened? And her anxiety level goes down. That's one thing. The second thing is it actually activates your brain.
Amazing.
People that have not used the Alinker for a long, have not been active for quite a long time, get on the Alinker. They say, yeah, physically I might be tired, but I feel activated.
Yeah.
After using the Alinker.
That's phenomenal, isn't it? That a device can do that. It's amazing. Have you heard of neuroplasticity?
The neuroplasticity of the brain, that is the brain circuitry. And I can't make any medical claims about this. I can just repeat what I'm hearing back from people and what I see on videos. I've got a few videos of Jennifer, for example, when she put her video up, when we put the campaign live. We do crowdfunding campaigns, so people can bridge the cost. When she first put her video up, we had to subtitle it because she could not decipher what she was saying. And then now she's employed by us, and her speech is like chatterbox, like totally fluent speech. That's after 3 months, and it's not a temporary thing. They go, no, now it's constant. It's gone. Her speech impediment is gone.
Wow.
We have people that used to be progressive, that used to have progressive MS, now off medication. Their MS is dormant, and it's not that it's gone. It's more like if you activate the brain, the brain can reroute neural pathways around the lesions.
Yeah.
It's not that the lesions are gone. It's not your MS is gone, but the symptoms can be a lot less if you activate the brain and stop eating sugar and carbs.
Stop eating shit. I love that.
Well, stop inflaming the system, literally. because all that food inflames your system. It's an
It does.
inflammatory disease. So if you keep inflaming it, it keeps giving problems.
It'll keep getting worse. Yeah. So how does it
Yeah.
feel to have invented this amazing mobility device, and then have these people, genuinely getting better from it? How does that feel? That must be amazing.
It is pretty overwhelming to read how life-changing this thing is for many people, but I've never felt it was mine. There's a few people in my life that died far too young, and I always feel present. They were not done yet. And people say like, oh, it's your baby. I'm like, no, it's not my baby. It comes through me. It comes through me. That's how it feels. It's not mine. I'm apparently the vessel through which it comes, and I have to do the work. And it's not about me. It's never about me. And it's not mine. And I'm just flabbergasted how stupid this world is in many ways, that is so bad for people, and we perpetuate it all together. That's just sheer stupidity. Can we just do something smart together and just be kind and show up for each other? That would be so much nicer.
It would in an ideal world.
Well, we can build that. That's the whole point. We can build an ideal world. And not be bogged down by, oh, I want to change the world, but I won't know what to start. The drama of always focusing on the problems.
Yeah.
It makes us feel powerless. And that's where the system benefits, to make us feel powerless.
Yeah.
We can just change around with our back to the system. And so like, we can build something together that makes us feel awesome together. Let's do something fun together. We can. We literally can. We're doing it. Yeah. We're building a farm in Kentucky. We have an Alinker family. I didn't come up with that word. It started growing. Joe, I think, was the first one who said, I want to be part of this Alinker family. And I was like, which family? He's like, oh, there's a family growing. Oh, interesting. Yeah. I didn't come up with that. It grows as we become, we are attracted to each other as people that want to be real with each other.
Yeah.
That's very attractive.
Yeah.
And it's not because we want to build a design to be attractive, because who cares? We're not marketing people, let's put it that way. We're just being real. And apparently that's attractive. That's fine.
So before we go, we have a question from our Enabled Warriors Facebook group from Rosie. Yeah, so Rosie says, is there any future possibility of the Alinker going on core to areas and countries where it's not available to try out? So she says she was desperate to buy one this year, but she was way too ill to travel to the UK to try it out. Going on tour again?
Yes. Well, we do have distributors in certain countries, in New Zealand, Australia, the UK. I do not tell distributors how to do their work. So I don't know, I cannot tell them to have a 30-day return policy. We do that in the US and in Canada. Because we have a little bit more wiggle room in the margins to do that, to make all that available, to offer rent to own at 0%, to do the crowdfunding campaigns and give that a lot of support. To hire Alinker users, to do trials with people. Distributors do it in their own way. There is a distributor in the UK, Karen. Karen actually lives with MS herself. She's an Alinker user herself. As we now have a distributor in Switzerland who's got MS, and Carlo in Italy, who's becoming a distributor, also has MS. So our distributors are people who actually live the life of an Alinker user, which is perfect, of course, because they live the life, they understand. Yeah, they've got them at the RAF Museum in London, and then Karen is close to Brighton. What I'm hoping over time is that because the Alinker family grows, what we do in the US sometimes is that people say, oh, I'm in Albuquerque, if somebody wants to try in Albuquerque, get them in contact with me. Now that's a logistical nightmare to try and set it up,
Yeah, I can imagine.
but we post it sometimes on Facebook. It's like, hey, somebody around, da da da, and then people contact with each other. Hey, you're in New York. Can I come and try the Alinker? What do you have? Medium or small? Oh, okay. And then that happens, and I'm hoping that in time that happens more. Yeah.
It's just fabulous. I love it. So, are you ready for some super quick secrets?
Oh my God,
Do
yes.
anything.
I saw that yesterday in your questionnaire that you sent me, and I was like, I'm not going to read them. I'm just going to be surprised by them. So shoot.
Okay, cool. Okay, enabled warriors, we've talked about some heavy stuff today. Let's have a little bit of fun with Bee before we go. This is the part of the show where we find out a little bit more about the personality of our guest with some super quick secrets. Are you ready for this?
I'm not sure if I have secrets, actually, so that's going to be interesting.
What is the most inspiring book that you've ever read?
Paradise, Toni Morrison.
Nice.
And I have to say, I don't read generally. I can probably count the books that I did read on two hands, and only really dense, really interesting books I can keep my attention to. So Toni Morrison, Paradise is a very complicated book to read, and that actually keeps my attention.
Cool. What is the weirdest thing that you've ever done?
The weirdest thing? Probably reinvent myself.
Nice. Good answer. Good answer. What is your most favorite place that you have ever visited?
Afghanistan, hands down.
Really? What makes you say
that? I lived there for 3.5 years. I don't know. My soul came home in Afghanistan that I cannot explain. I felt that my body was too small to contain so much happiness when I was in Afghanistan. I thought I was going to explode.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's an incredible country, incredible people, and I'm homesick every day.
Oh, gosh, that's incredible. I've never had that as an answer before. What is the scariest thing that you've ever done?
Let's come back to that. I'll give that a thought. Nothing comes to mind, really. I totally blank out. That's maybe how scary it was. I don't know. I'm not often impressed by things as they scare me. I actually get attracted to scary stuff because so I don't think I classified it as like, oh, that was really scary, but don't know.
Okay, cool. Fair enough, that's fine. That's actually the end of the questions. So, where can other warriors...
Oh, I got one.
Oh, go.
I got one. My TED Talk. Standing the first time, because I'm not such an extrovert person. Standing on a stage and having no paper notes to remind, no, how do you call that, monitor, that, nothing, and I totally lost it. If you look at my TED Talk, you can see that they edited something out, because for half a minute I completely, utterly lost it.
Really?
That half minute was probably the scariest thing. Well, I didn't intentionally do that, but it happened. Standing in front of 300 people and completely not knowing, nothing going on in my head.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's my worst fear about doing talks, is just going absolutely blank.
Yeah. But there was somebody in the audience after half a minute who said, "We love you." And I was like, of course I know what I'm talking about. And I just continued on.
That is amazing of them to say. Gosh.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. So where can other warriors find out more about you and what you do?
On the website. And what our most active channel is Instagram. Instagram, the_Alinker_world, or BE_Alink. That's me on Instagram. And I'm not so active. It's just that when we do live IGs, I can be called in. That Brandon can do a live IG on the Alinker channel and cannot call me in if I'm only on the Alinker channel. So I started my own profile and I post some different stuff there than the regular.
That is so cool.
Facebook, Barbara Alink on Facebook. Yeah, that's kind of and the Alinker USA, Canada, I believe, on Facebook as well. But the website, alinker.com, it has the social media channels on it.
Awesome.
Sign up for the newsletter. We've become a little bit more active in the newsletters because they're fun. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Well, I'll put all of those, I'll link all of those into the show notes as well. So everybody listening can go and check those out. Totally. It has been amazing chatting to you today, B. It really, really has. Thank you so much for being here.
You're very welcome, Jessie. It's been fun to talk. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Keep moving.
Keep moving. Yeah.
Keep moving.
And remember, warriors, stay enabled.
If you want to fight back against your invisible illness and help take the dis out of disability, then join the tribe on Facebook, facebook.com/enabledwarriors. If you love this podcast, click that subscribe button and never miss another episode. And remember, warriors, stay enabled.